Welcome to James Bond Club Ireland. It's me, Paul Lally. I am with Andy, Kev, and Sean. Say hello, guys.
Hello, everyone.
So I hope you're all doing very well, and I hope you've been enjoying our podcasts recently. We just had the Spy Who Loved Me novel drop today. Sean, did you enjoy doing that one with Fraser? He's great for the M Library ones.
Yeah, no, I did. It was good to read the book again, get back into it, because it's been a long time since I've read it. So, yeah, enjoyed chatting about it. A unique Bond novel, I would say. No spoilers, get everybody listening to our pod, but interesting conversation. Good to chat about it.
Yeah, we've had a good run of pods recently. Andy, did you enjoy it? What have you been up to in the meantime? Anything Bond related? Or are you getting ready to jet across the world? You're heading to Washington soon.
I'm heading over the water soon, so I've had a lot of general busyness, and to my shame, I have had very little Bond input for the last week.
It's a shame. I thought you would be getting your Crombie coat, dry cleaned so that you could march through the airport, Roger Moore style, with your little briefcase when you disembark.
That's later in the week.
Playing in the background. Oh, it's later in the week, yeah.
That's later in the week, definitely. Yeah. Because the only thing I did actually catch a bit of Octopussy the other night, and literally, to my shame, that's all I've managed this week.
It's good.
I'm just going to say it. Catch a bit of Octopussy sounds a little medical, and I'm glad it's not contagious.
But how do you know it
being
wasn't
able to catch a Bond film at any point is good. 8 little tentacles growing out of your behind. That's what I think it is. Anyway, what else is? We might have to get Michael to edit that bit out.
Sorry, no, we're keeping that, and we're putting it on a T-shirt as well. Come on. Anyone who's listening now, if you want to have that on a T-shirt, please let us know in the comments. We will do it. If we get enough people ask for it, we'll do it.
Kevin, what have you been up to doing this week?
I actually too was watching Octopussy the other night and kind of came in. Do you know when you hate when you're watching the TV and you come in and you're halfway through a Bond film, it's already on and you're like, oh, I missed the first half. And I walked in the other night.
Yeah. I'll never be able to follow it now.
No, you won't. But it's okay because it was on a +1. So I went to ITV4 +1 and I watched the whole thing one evening. It was great because I haven't watched it for one, and I do love that movie. It's a great one to look at. So that's about it for me as well. And The Spy Who Loved Me. Getting over.
This is going to be a nice segue into the topic that we're looking at tonight. But when you walk in mid Bond film, or more likely to be mid-Bond film than a computer game, or stumble upon anyone reading a Bond novel. Do your kids or young people, any kind of young people that you come across in your lives, do they ever express interest or intrigue or delight at Bond, or is it kind of just alien to them?
In my house, it is a little bit of both. So my resident 13-year-old, very much familiar with James Bond, thanks to me, has seen a little bit, but kind of goes, all right, okay. But then other times has seen one or two and has kind of got into it going, well, what happens next? So it's a bit of a funny one. She's aware and she knows who they are, but she's kind of like, she's never really sat down and watched one. Not yet, anyway.
Yeah. And what about you guys?
Well, I have 2 young fellas, so they're mad keen into Bond, probably because I've brainwashed them into loving James Bond.
I was going to say, you steered them from the start.
I have, yes. No shame in admitting that.
When the 60th anniversary ones were on, my youngest came, saw most of them with me. So under sufferance to start off with, and then started to enjoy them.
That's good, yeah.
Well, this leads us down the path to our subject for tonight, which is, and let me get this title correct because it was studiously put together by Kevin and his mate Claude. How do you introduce Bond to someone who has no idea who he is? Okay. Now, You might be out there listening going, oh, this is filler. They're just putting in stuff now because they've got no more interesting interviews and there's nothing happening in the Bond world. But trust me, this is not. This is interesting because we've all got people in our lives that we want to be Bond fans. But, I mean, the future of the Bond franchise really kind of depends on, people being interested in it. It depends on there being an audience for it out there, right? And I think one of the things that... we've heard in the past, anytime there's a gap between films particularly, or let's say major sort of Bond output of one kind of another, there is always a concern that that next generation doesn't know who Bond is, doesn't care, thinks it's their dad's thing, feels that the Bond is old and stodgy. And therefore, there is an uphill challenge to try to bring Bond to a new audience. Okay, so never has the challenge of being more clear than in today's world, where we have now a 5-year gap, and it will be at least 6 before we see the first film from Bond post Daniel Craig era. And the last time we had such a big gap was in the early 1990s, when Timothy Dalton vacated the role, and it was not filled until 5-6 years later by Pierce Brosnan. In that time, famously, MGM had conducted a poll, and there's actually a good podcast out there for Spy Hards. I know we shouldn't be promoting other podcasts, because death to all other podcasts, ours is the best. We should be listening to ours only. That is not true, of course. Scott and Cam from Spy Hards are legends, and they interviewed Jeff Kleeman, who was a former executive there, and he talks a little bit about overseeing the sort of Pierce Brosnan, bringing on Pierce Brosnan into the role, and the perception about where Bond was before that. And clearly, they were worried that they had work to do in terms of regaining ground. But I guess that's the case every time, every teenager grows up, you're only a teenager for 6 years or so. So, there's got to be new ones coming on. So how do you engage those, right? And we know that there are a lot of challenges out there, but what do you guys, before we start looking at, what we think the industry is doing and what, received wisdom will tell us they should be doing, what are you guys doing, right? What do you see your kids reacting to? What do you think is the best way to engage people in the fandom? Sean, you've been steering kids from an early age successfully. They are marching in the army of Bond.
Successfully.
Yeah. Go on, tell us, what did you do? I mean, apart from, put propaganda posters up all over the walls inside in your room, what did you do that got your kids interested? And what do they like about Bond?
Yeah, probably the films are always on in the house at some point. So at least starting off, showing them the pre-title sequences, and they're always a good bit of action. Oh,
hi.
Hello.
How's it? That's Sophie.
That's
Hi,
Sophie. Sorry, Sean, to stop you there.
An excellent time to ask her what she likes about Bond.
What would you like about James Bond?
Like to be done.
No, what would you like? What's your favorite thing about James Bond?
Like I said, like the stunts.
Lego and stunts in James Bond is what we like about.
Lego stunts are excellent.
A good thing for advertising Lego with a famous brand.
So Lego and a famous brand and Bond will be a very interesting thing from that. So there you go. That's one thing. Sorry, Sean, I'm going to let you fire away there.
No, it's not far off the mark, because with 2 young fellas in the house, Lego is a big thing. But I was going to just mention Lego very briefly, but the films was the start, and I play the soundtracks non-stop all the time. So it's always on the house. We actually play a bit of a game going, name the film, you're just playing soundtracks. And so the boys are well into it now, so there's always that. But again, it's similar, but the computer game, like we still play like N64, the GoldenEye game and so on there. So the guys are aware of that. So like, they're sort of getting a full sort of everything sort of coming at them in terms of James Bond. So yeah, I'm trying to keep it going, because all they watch is Star Wars, Marvel, everything but James Bond, unless I'm putting it on. So yeah, trying to keep it going.
Yeah.
I think we all need to get a teenager in the room and ask them. That's how it should be.
Yeah, I know. That's yeah. We struggled to find a committee of willing participants.
It was a bit of reluctance.
Now
there.
I may just send a
guys are
text
very young.
downstairs and see if one will come up.
do get them all on. Can I just want to
do
say
it.
it's not just the
In the
teenage, it's
meantime-
not just the kids though, or the teenagers, or the this kind of topic came into mind with me because I was chatting to someone who likes movies, but they've freely admitted to me in their 30s they have never watched a James Bond film in its entirety. And I was like, really? They not real sense. Oh, I think Daniel Craig is the, enough to just about know. And you're going, how do you draw somebody even at that? Because you have a whole generation who are coming at this in a whole different way. And I think that's an interesting problem now when you have a reinvention about to occur.
Yeah, but isn't that a shift in the landscape? I mean, it used to be like James Bond were the big tentpole movies of the summer, and everybody went to see a James Bond movie. And then there were, Star Wars came up, Indiana Jones and Jaws, and these types of things came up. But, there was still just a handful of big movies that you could see. Whereas now, these universes of Marvel, DC, and other franchises have become much more common. Bond is just one in a much larger field. So if you're not really if you're not really a film buff, or you're trying to take, or if you're not into that kind of action spy genre, if you're not looking at Bourne and Bond and I don't know who else we might fit in that particular genre. If you're more into sort of fantasy or sci-fi, then you might go a different direction. There are more options. You don't have to be, that's not your only option, which is good. But it also means, I guess it's not a surprise that you find people now who've never, because when we were growing up, everyone would have seen Bond films, right? Everyone would have known. They were on the TV on Friday evenings as well on the weekend. So they were part of the culture, like they were part of the fabric. Whereas now I think it's still fair to say that they have quite a cultural cachet in Britain, especially, but worldwide as well. I mean, James Bond is a sort of is a byword for a lot of other things, for sort of elegance, luxury, a bit of deadly spycraft, bit of cloak and dagger, a slight this glamour and all of that kind of. That's still the brand that people know, right? So whether they think it's Craig David who's playing James Bond, or whether they think it's whomever. It still has a cachet, but kids coming up, there is kind of an attitude. Well, let's say if you scoot on the internet, you'll find people saying, "Oh, Bond is old-fashioned and boorish, and he doesn't share the values of diversity and blah 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 blah." But I feel like that's often AI skimming through the culture wars to suggest reasons why Bond might not be popular. I think most people, if you look at young kids who are like, "Oh yeah, what is James Bond? Oh, it's action film. Oh, brilliant." I think they're open to it. They might not just be getting the exposure that we necessarily got. Do you guys think that's a fair shout, or is AI correct? And I'm just putting it out there. Me versus AI, and I'm right.
Yeah, I think it's a fair shout. But what I have actually got here beside me is a teenager. If I could cut across that for 2 seconds.
Actual teenager. How do we talk to these creatures?
Who actually sat and watched the James Bond films at the cinema during the 60th celebrations. So what did you like about the James Bond
incredible
films?
I thought they were very
Andy, first of all, can you introduce us to this teenager?
Hold on. Yeah, this is Ella Rose. This is the young one.
Hello.
Hi, Ella Rose. It's lovely to meet you.
So what did you like about them?
I thought it was very action packed. It was very up and down moments, but I felt like it's ranged to people that at all ages. That like even if you're not into it, you'll understand it from watching one movie to the next. It was really interesting, and I really enjoyed it.
Cool.
Good. Did you have a favorite, Ella Rose?
Did you have a favorite?
I liked Octopussy.
Good.
That's brilliant. It's a banger. Yeah, great
Why
action
did
in
you
that
like
one.
Octopussy?
Is that the one with the blue?
It's one with
No,
she liked Octopussy because of that was the one where, remember I've told you guys before, where the camera pans in and pans out, and she went, "Oh my God, boobies!"
I don't know what to say.
Thank you.
Very good.
That's brilliant. Thank you to a real live teenager. Well done for bringing one in. That is brilliant.
Doesn't that give us a lot of
She's
hope?
great, yes. I think
Actually,
there's a
doesn't
lot
it,
of hope.
Paul? I mean, it gives a lot of hope in there in terms of she went to the 60th anniversary, looked at it all. Octopussy ranked high there in terms the formula will always win. I think it's actually a good sign.
Yeah.
And the fact that
rather
the two
than
teenagers
dismiss
we've
it
had
for
in
its
have both been
old-fashioned
girls, and
sexism.
both of those have enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Which was just about to support what I was going to say, which is, you know, rather than dismiss it for sort of silly sexist jokes, just embrace it as being a silly sexist joke. You know? But yeah, I mean, I think they've moved away from that now. They're certainly not doing that anymore. And I think that the first Light game that's coming up looks really, really modern. And, you know, if they're going to go down the route of creating a modern character, making him look modern, making him look young, but having several tentacles reaching back into the past with references to, you know, how he's recruited with the cars, some of the visual impacts. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they've worked hard on there to connect the sort of next era of Bond with his heritage, if you like. I mean, that seems like they're striking the right notes to me. I don't know what you think about that.
No, it is, and it's something that Michael had said in a previous chat, that there's technically like two audiences there in terms of Bond fans, but also the computer gamers that may not have an interest in Bond, but they're going to be introduced to that world of James Bond, and you might be able to get more people interested in an upcoming movie, or there's a back catalogue of films that you could watch, etc. There's novels to be read. It's definitely targeting a different audience that they haven't targeted in a long, long time. Because when was the last computer game that was released? And there was a period of time they were being churned out. Yeah. Some were very good, some not so good, but you had a target audience that are waiting for the next James Bond game to be released. So I think it's a brilliant move they've made, and it's an audience that should be tapped into.
Yeah. And Kev, you've written in the notes that we should each have a go at pitching what we think would be a good idea to recruit young people. What's your idea for that?
I think it needs to be, it needs to have all the elements of what we know as Bond. It's funny, I was reflecting on this and I went back to kind of the 60s when Bond mania was in full flow. It's a long time ago now, in a whole different world where, you know, your access to something like Bond was either limited to the cinema or merchandise or books. And then I thought, well, that was a big hit. Everyone, it was different. It stood out. No one had seen kind of films like that before, and it was exciting because of that. Then I was doing a bit of a fast forward to the 90s, and we had the gap. Now, in high, you know, we had James Bond Jr. for a lot of younger people, so the awareness of James Bond was kind of there. A lot of the characters in the cartoon were kind of following the characters we had seen already. So there's a little bit of a stopgap there, I think, between the films, and as rightly or wrongly as some people have panned or enjoyed that series, but it did do a lot of work. And then you had this perceived reinvention, which is very quite familiar in terms of all of the classic stuff. And Brosnan looks cool, and he's driving the car, and he's in these fantastic locations, and he's saving the world. And it's not different from the 60s. It's a modern, well, then it was a modern twist on it. You know, we've never seen Bond like this. And when you go fast forward to Casino Royale again with every new actor, you never see Bond like this. It's the same but slightly different. I think we need to kind of get a bit more, for younger folks, a little bit more aspirational in terms of it, probably a bit more joyous. I think when we hear things like people say Octopussy is great because it's fun and it's entertaining, but also you can see how, you know, the stories are easy to follow. I don't need to be following this around like a serial. I think just keeping to that and the basic formula of what makes Bond film will be enough to draw people in. And if you have a great marketing campaign, and marketing campaigns are so important, if you've got a great marketing campaign where every 5 seconds Bond's on the TV, or he's on your can of Coke, or he's where they are, that's only going to help enhance and kind of get it going. But he's going to have to appeal to that audience as well. He can't be me, unfortunately. He has to be of certain type, and has that draw for them all to want to go and see what this is about.
Yeah, you you wedged in a pet bugbear there, which was the continuity through the films. And I'm just going to challenge you on that, because plenty of the other franchises out there that have been successful have not only continuity, but they have spin-offs and various different types of, you know, multiverse types of things. So they're all connected in ways that are far more entangled than Bond is, and doing quite well because of it. So what is it that makes you think you don't like the was it just that one particular style of connectivity?
No, nothing. It's nothing against continuity, because you can have a very light continuity no matter what. And actually, Bond did it, you know, in For Your Eyes Only, which we're doing our screening on the 25th. You see Bond at the grey
There's always been continuity in there.
There's always a little bit of like continuity. But the difference with that is I don't need to have to refer back. I can watch the film without getting that reference. He's at a grave of someone he loved and it's regretful, and we move on. The fans are going to go, oh, look at that, he's doing it. And I think that's fine, as long as you kind of treat me as an audience member, someone new coming into it, going, I'm not sitting there feeling a bit, what's happening here? What's that? Or there's a call back to something from 10 years ago. It's not, you know, I think that's where I go with continuity, being able to slip into it.
Yeah. I mean, fair enough. I mean, they're always trying to strike a balance between, you know, serving the what they call us, super users or something. You know, the type of super consumers where we're mad to draw down we squeeze as much Bondian stuff out of a film as possible. But we're a tiny niche audience now compared with who they're trying to reach generally. So
I'll say one more thing and then I'll stop, because just on the continuity point again, that's being done everywhere else. My goodness, let's be different and actually come up with something that looks different again, and same formula, different. That is going to be, that could take us in all different directions.
Yep.
And did you have any thoughts on what you think would be good? Sorry, Sean.
No, far away, Andy.
Oh, right. Like I say, I took the brief slightly differently to Kev. I did it just as a one-liner for just to pitch it why James Bond is
Kev
great.
did write that on brief and then stretched the one-liner.
Yeah, so I stuck to
my rules. I can do what I want. Thank you.
I stuck to. I just, with a little bit of a thought, I just put who and what is James Bond. So James Bond's the ultimate blend of charm, danger, style. The spy who makes saving the world look effortlessly cool.
I like that.
That was just a one-line thing to encompass everything. But I can talk about lots of other stuff if you want.
There feels like there's a spectrum, isn't it? There's always been the sort of cool guy doing cool stuff at James Bond, and then there's been the battered, toughened, hardened agent struggling to achieve a goal, and the struggle and the relationships that he makes along the way is what drives that forward. And there are those two poles. The struggle has been real, and those poles have pulled at one another for quite some time. And it's always kind of a spectrum. You know, people sort of, you know, use shorthand for it by, you know, saying Moonraker versus From Russia with Love, or Man with the Golden Gun versus No Time to Die, whatever way you want to do it, right? But this has always been the push-pull that's happened with Bond. And of course, everybody's talking about, well, where is this going to go next? Now, the very name Stephen Knight suggests it's not going to be, you know, too much of a cool guy doing cool stuff and just gliding through with a wink and a nod and a one-liner. I'm sure because of his love of Bond and his love of Fleming, that little quip we saw him speaking about on the BBC not so long ago was very encouraging. He said he loved the writing of Fleming. He said, I think he paid some nod to the traditions of the movies as well. So, you know, he's a man who seems to be, you know, definitely clued into what he's doing and doing it for the right reasons. But he's playing his cards very close to his chest as to what we can expect from him. So who knows? But we know that everything he writes is just gold at the moment, right? He can't seem to put a foot wrong. So if we're looking to Stephen Knight as the only kind of benchmark or beacon that we really know of, what do you think we can expect from Bond? Have I departed from the notes again? I probably have, Kev. Sorry.
I think we left the notes way back.
We did.
This
And
podcast.
Sean hasn't even given his answer for the one-liner yet.
This is a jazz podcast, right? Notes are for, this is free-form jazz on here. So, Sean, give us your one-liner and then tell us the answers to that question, which I've immediately forgotten.
No, yeah. My one-liner would be, we have a franchise here that is going 60, coming 5 years here. There's a whole tradition in terms of a backlog that you can watch 25 different types of films. I would encourage them to watch maybe certain films, but then there's also the novels. If you're into that, there's a ton of music. There's a ton of connections with Bond throughout the whole 65 years. And we're still going strong. There are different types of Bonds in terms of the way the character is portrayed. So you can have a whole plethora of ways to watch the Bond film or a certain type of Bond film you want to watch. But there's a whole host of areas that they can watch. So yeah, it's probably visually, and today's sort of generation, they want to see instant, sharp sort of snaps. So yeah, throw on any pre-titles you want and you'll soon get the experience of what Bond is. It'll want to keep you watching.
Sean, I'm going to put you on the spot even more. What film would you recommend they watch if they've never seen a Bond film before?
You're probably going to hit me for this, but I would probably put on the likes of a GoldenEye because I believe it has everything in there that encapsulates Bond. I know the go-to used to be the likes of Spy Who Loved Me, something like that. The only other film I would be tempted to show them is Casino Royale. I think they should watch Casino Royale, and they're going to get a great opportunity to see it on the big screen all this year with the anniversary. But them two types of films I would recommend anybody to watch, and that'll give you a full view of what Bond is.
Yeah, surprisingly, I would say Casino Royale as well, because with it being a reboot, you're not jumping in halfway through anybody's tenure, and it literally was the first one that was a complete reboot. So I would actually say Casino to be a first introduction.
So I'm going to give you just a quick suggestion based on a sort of a buzzword that is associated with Gen Z and younger generations, and that is, they see so many things online that is so fake and so designed to sort of provoke them into various types of engagement, if you like. And a lot of them are just like they're so sick of that stuff that what they crave is, and this is a word that you see around plenty, and which is authenticity, right? So young people want authenticity in their entertainment, and they want a diversity as well, right? We live in a world where now it's very plausible that we could have certainly a black Bond. I think the woman Bond thing is clickbait, it's rage bait. I don't think that's necessarily a character change they're going to make, but certainly we could have a Bond of color that makes total sense in today's world. It didn't make sense in 1953, would have been unrealistic, but it does today. So we might have something along those lines. But if I wanted to start someone out looking at Bond, right, who, sure, if they just wanted a fun ride, we could do the adventures and stuff like that. But if they're looking for that kind of authenticity, I think a Dalton or a Craig would be a good place to start. So there is my hot take. Challenge me. I know Owen Ling will be on my side, but anyone else challenge me on that thought.
But you could on the same token, somebody who wants an upbeat, fun Bond film like a Roger Moore, you might want to watch a Moonraker.
It's true, but a lot of the flippancy that we saw in the sort of late 60s, early 70s, what I'm saying is the sort of, when it started to get a little bit of cartoonish, and when there was started to be a little bit, just Bond bedding dozens of women and, floating around and, kicking henchmen in the crotch lightly and then running off and, it just became a little too easy in spots. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It was a fun romp, but I'm not sure that kind of thing is going to be the first thing that's going to engage audiences today if they're seeking something a little bit more real.
No.
I think if you go, like, as I said earlier, I think as an introduction, Casino Royale. Then you need to pick a Bond that's based on the vibe of the person. If you want them to carry on. So, you know, if you want the serious action heavy, you're going to carry on with the Daniel Craig's. Fun, stylish, you know, a little bit cheesy, although it hurts me to say that. Roger Moore. The cool and
Embrace
balanced.
the cheese, Andy.
Yeah. Cool and balanced, Pierce
Cheese is
Brosnan.
great.
And, you know, the original charm, you'd go for a Connery. So, but once you need that one film to get the hook, and then you can go by what that person's interest is generally.
Yeah, well, we're also, I guess, overlooking the fact that I don't think any of us are real gamers here, are we? Sean, you might be an exception, or I'm not.
I was. I haven't been this last while. Yeah, I used to be. Yeah.
But let's not underestimate the power of a look. There's Mr. Switch. Yeah. What are your guys' takes then on gaming as an on ramp, a gateway drug to Bond mania?
I think it's definitely.
I know nothing about it, but I'm assuming that obviously it's where the future is, rather than we're not the future, are we? Clearly, but that's where people are heading more and more, isn't it, towards gaming?
Yeah, it is and it isn't. I think it's like a multi-channel. It's definitely something that's going to get, if First Light is going to be a great game, like GoldenEye was. And I think I hate to go back and refer back to GoldenEye. I mean, it's 30 years ago, which is a long time. If you're a teenager or 20-something, 30 years ago, what are you looking at that for?
Yeah.
But what happened with that, I mean, GoldenEye came out after the movie. And it just happened to hit at a time, I think, where it was a different type of game. You could play it with others. You were together, you know, in the room on 4 controllers on a Nintendo 64, and it was the perfect game for that time and that group of people who tended to be late teens, early 20s, probably playing it. I know I remember seeing it around, and I think that helps, and that keeps that knowledge of Bond, and that he's a type of character that you can sort of have in a way. And I think it's going to be multi-channel, though. I do think it's going to be coming games and movies, and you've got books and something else. It's always been a bit multi-channel, but it's certainly, is it a gateway? Yeah, of course it's a gateway. I mean, we've seen loads of other Bond games, and some have been great and some have been awful, come and go. And yet they still go back to him. And this new game definitely looks like it has potential for the first time in a long time.
Good.
It does.
Yeah, it's definitely a gateway. It is a gateway. Like I'm probably not a good example, but that's how I got into James Bond. It was through the GoldenEye game. I knew nothing really about. I knew it was on TV, but I wasn't really into it. I started playing the game, realizing probably in hindsight, Kev, 100% right. The game was released like a year and a half after the movie was released, but it made me realize, oh, there's a film connected to this. I better go and watch the film. You go and watch the film. Oh, there's other films. That's the sort of domino effect that would be great if this new game had the same sort of impact in a roundabout way, is to get people aware of the character of the phone franchise. That's the gateway that I think will attract a lot of new people.
Yeah.
And if we can just make a quick tie, a slightly cosmic connection between okay, fair enough. As you said, the GoldenEye game came out after the film, but the film came out in 1995. And in that same year was born a Dublin boy who became the actor who is currently playing James Bond in the game, Patrick Gibson. So big shout out to him. And congratulations. That's a fantastic role for him. And it's nice to have another Irish connection within the James Bond world. So that's fantastic. What would we not do introducing our young people to James Bond?
There's a big intake of breath there.
Not to do.
Yeah.
Don't start with some random mid-series film.
Don't stand with a random mid-series film. What, like Spy Who Loved Me?
Yeah, just some, because just start, or maybe even don't go.
Isn't the Spy Who Loved Me like a
first.
perfect standalone? Okay,
But
too old first. Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
But if we're going for a younger audience, don't start too young, too old, unless they're into classic films. But that's going to be more of a rarity than a generalization. And don't try to explain all the continuity, because you'd never do it.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you start trying to explain continuity, that's when people would switch off.
It's with my two lads, because they're 6, it's a little bit easier. You can timelines don't mean a great deal to them. So you can you shouldn't be showing Bond films to 6-year-olds. Let's make that clear. But they keep stumbling on them, especially when they were on Netflix. They were like, Daddy, that's Bond. Let's watch this one, And I was like, okay, I'll watch it with you, though. And, they like Knick Knack and they like Jaws. And there's a lot of question about how Jaws got his teeth. And it's actually quite good, because it's like, if you don't brush your teeth, they'll fall out and you'll have to get metal teeth like Jaws.
Very true.
But
they're weighing another pros and cons of that. Like I can chew through cable car cable. Yeah, that's a rare enough advantage.
I said before, like my youngster, I'm going against what I've just said, but Roger Moore was the introduction to her watching the 60th anniversary ones. You've just named 2 of Roger Moore's villains as the ones that your sons would pick up on.
But that was my point earlier on. I probably obviously wasn't explaining myself, but again, like I was talking from the point of view of like two young sons. They want to watch the more like just like not what's it? It was like the Roger Moore type sort of high caper, sort of big massive world adventure. They don't want to sit and watch. And I mean this generally a gritty Quantum of Solace or Casino Royale. There's films like. One of the most favorite films in our house is Die Another Day, and like most Bond fans will probably flag that as, I'm not sure about that. The guys love the fact that Bond is all action, hovercrafts, visible cars. Like they love all that. So we probably need to be what age we pitching how to introduce people at different times. The 30-year-old that Kev met probably wasn't going to be interested as much in Die Another Day as opposed to a Casino Royale or a Dalton for what you were saying earlier, Paul, but. Showing my lads License to Kill, that's probably the one film they haven't seen really as much, if at all, because of what happens in the film. Probably one of my favourite Bond films. I think it's an excellent film, but you don't show it to a 6, 7, 8-year-old.
Yeah.
So it's different levels of way how we introduce people to Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all different. I would just say don't be serious. Don't remind us of how the world is. Take us away. I think you can have and I think there's a balance. You can have your sort of, it's so horrible to say cartoonish elements. I don't mean it in that way, but that kind of, like you're saying, Sean, and the kids are looking at, Jaws, or that baddie is like this, and it kind of is something they can figure out. Have elements like that and have elements of adventure, but just take us away from reality. Probably, I think a lot of folks are, and probably that audience are looking at today. Be realistic, but don't be too realistic.
No, like whenever my son puts on a school bag, he thinks he's wearing a parachute, and he's in James Bond film.
Brilliant!
You're not going to be a moonraker because he's no parachute. Things like that. So
brilliant.
It's like that's the links that we should be making, and make it interesting for them. But I know what you're saying, Kev, because I probably wasn't explaining myself right, and I don't want to say the likes of cartoonish stuff, but the young, I'm comparing for my two, they love that. They lap that up compared to we're not going to be watching a gritty Bond film until a few years' time. So. It's probably just different levels.
Yeah. I'm also going to say don't have an Aston Martin DB5. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it. I think we have to park it. We have to park it. It's a 6-year-old car. Must be modern.
It's funny. This place is littered with Aston Martin DB5s. There's Lego ones.
A DB5, Paul. A DB5.
Kev, what's that sitting behind you there?
Don't pay attention to the. I love the DB5, but I do think it's time to head a look. Spy Who Loved Me came back after what was a gap? Lotus. I know they were talking. I think they were talking about a Porsche, but Lotus, and then we had a break for a bit. Dalton came back, and it was back to Aston's. Then we BMW, and then with the DB5 kind of making a little bit of a lovely nod, without it being central, and then it's been just used a bit now the last while. I think it's time
They've
to
gone
retire.
beyond nodding. They're more or less moshing to it now. It's just like,
I mean,
JB5.
they've blown it up and they're willing to put it back together again. And
Yeah.
so I think we need to let go. I'm not going to say stop, but let go of things like that kind of. Because in a way, it has the danger of becoming like Inspector Morse driving. What was he driving again? The old car, the
Jaguar, wasn't it?
Jaguar,
yeah. So I'd hate that to happen. So I think we need something different car wise.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to move forward like that, but you know, in the 90s, like they did do a misstep with the BMW Z3. It was a nice car at the time, but now it wasn't entirely used effectively in the film because it gets a teaser and then it never gets paid off, and then it kind of became I know it never really went into. It was never really a standout BMW sports car. I don't think. Maybe BMW fans will pull me up on that, but it never really had the cachet of the sort of the Lotus or the Aston, you know. So
I think the producers were more interested in the money that BMW were paying them to put it in the film, I think.
Well, that's fine, but it doesn't excuse not being able to write the script correctly.
I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying that's probably why it was there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, I mean that gets into the kind of product placement for the sake of budgeting the film. I don't necessarily have too strong a problem with that. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Well, they made a comeback in the world's not enough for this idiot, so tried to make it all singing, all dancing, action car.
That was a nice car too.
It was.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else that you would or wouldn't do for introducing new Bonds? Nobody's mentioned books yet. Would anybody recommend a Bond book?
100%. That was my next point. Definitely, like we have the Fleming novels, but there's a lot of continuation novels, and even one of the later ones, the Andy Horowitz novels, are excellent as a start for somebody who wants to pick up a book and read about Bond. But there's also a lot of like reference books. Like there's one, whenever Craig finished his tenure, there was a Bond book brought out about the history of all the Bonds, all his films. Like even that is a reference for people. There is so many books, but reading a novel, I would definitely recommend getting into maybe the newer novels, and then if you want to fall back into the Fleming novels, because Fleming novels obviously started in the 50s, so there are different ways, and like we have audiobooks now, great way to listen to a book. People are always on the go. They can catch up far quicker that way. If somebody likes the physical media, by all means, we also comics and linkages. There's so much that people can read, but definitely I'd recommend a newer, more up-to-date novel to break your way into that character.
I think the books are great, but I think if you're trying to get somebody just to introduce them to James Bond, it's easier to say, give up 2 hours of your time to watch this film than it is to say, give up a few hours to read this book.
Yeah.
Visual.
Yeah. I mean, it's just nice to see that people are thinking about them. And of course, Charlie Higson's coming up now, and his Young Bond series was very popular in the day. So there's a few angles you could try.
Yes.
But, you know, I don't know.
We also have a lot of sort of breakaway books as well, like the Kim Sherwood novels. You know, there's the Quantum of Menace is out now. There's a lot of different different ways of looking at the Bond franchise as opposed to the character. But again, and do you know what? There's one other thing, and this is a big stretch, right? But if you had a friend who wasn't really into Bond, like bring him to an event, bring him to a screening. Like if you lived in London, you didn't know much about Bond, like Cue the Music weekend is the prime location for you to get a flavour of what this franchise means to people. Never mind experience even just the music, the meeting up, the chatting, go and watch a film on the big screen. Like that alone will get you in, and here, like you can't but not like feel the vibe in the room and get used to like hearing what people think. Like that's a perfect way to get into something like that.
What I would like to see in Bond going as we move forward, and I think it would be this for me would be modern and would be a refresh. I don't think it would necessarily pull in very young Bond fans, but I think it would pull in a modern audience, and it would be a return to I don't want to say gritty because it's too the word is too tarnished with, you know, people think it's like Daniel Craig being emotional about, you know, his various loves or whatever. But like, I've been watching Tehran. I don't know if anyone's watched that series on Apple TV. It's a spy series where the spies are hackers, actually, but they're kind of in the field as well, and they're on the run a lot. It's there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of characters, and there's a lot of, you know, that slow build of tension where getting caught could be really, really dangerous, you know. And, you know, that type of thing that we saw last maybe in the Bourne films, where there was a lot of, you know, narrow escapes, you feel a lot of pressure, a lot of tension, that sort of stuff. So that it's gritty in that way, rather than relationship-driven gritty, I think, would bring a lot of excitement, potential for physical action, stunts, but also for good stories, intrigue, spycraft, which turns out, even in the age of, you know, cyber espionage, turns out there's still a lot of spycraft that goes on in the world, and it seems to be never more relevant than in this odd sort of post-Cold War era that we seem to be entering into. So it feels like that it's ripe for that kind of an adventure, and that's the kind of thing that I would like to see. And if anyone hasn't seen Tehran, that series, I encourage you to go and have a look at it. It's a good one. So that's the kind of thing that I'm enjoying right now, and I would love to see not necessarily the same thing. That's a TV series. It's very much driven around a slow build and a particular type of tension, but that kind of atmosphere within a film where you feel like Bond is in real danger, and then there's a lot of pressure, a lot of obstacles, a lot of potential pitfalls, and you're really on the edge of your seat, and then he comes to good. Then that's the payoff, the triumphant win at the end, when you feel he's like, under really tough circumstances, he's shone through and shown his mettle and being the kind of the guy we know he is. That's the kind of thing I would love to see. They obviously they've done that in the past, but they coupled it with a lot of entangling relationships and friends and loved ones and everyone dying off, which it overwhelmed people in the end, I think, which is a pity, because I think there were so many strong actors, strong characters, strong performances, but I think it all got a little bit overwhelmed maybe for a lot of people. So I think to strip that away a little bit, but bring something with that kind of energy in the next film would be a really strong step forward. That's my hope.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. I like the word energy, I have to say. There needs to be energy in this film moving forward.
Yeah.
Every night before I go to bed, I put my Bond crystals in front of me, and I derive the energy. I manifest Timothy Dalton vibes with the next film. Yeah. That's what's going to happen.
Well, it won't be long when you think about it.
Andy's like, you can stick your crystals, your Timothy Dalton crystals up your backside.
Do you know that's exactly what I was just thinking?
Didn't know we had Timothy Dalton crystal. That's the other T-shirt if anyone wants it.
Available now in the James Bond Club Ireland merch store.
Only in demand. Remember, this offer is not available in any stores. We are close to news on a movie, I think it's fair to say. Imagine just in a few months' time, we have First Light is out, some marketing around that. Charlie Hickson's out with a new Bond book. Suddenly Bond is becoming everywhere again. It's going to be a very interesting thing to watch, and to see how this new generation of future Bond fans, and I'm very confident we will have them, are going to come into this, and it's quite exciting as well. So keep manifesting is what I'm saying, Paul. Keep manifesting.
So get your
Yeah.
I've lost you, Paul.
He's never sounded better.
We've manifested the line, I think, to go, but I think he was probably to say, "Get on with it, lads."
Well, I was around 58-10 that started, so
it's good.
Michael. Yeah,
good. It's good. We can stop there. All right. Yeah. He'll probably bounce in a second, but
yeah.
Last thoughts then, Andy. First thing you want to see in the Bond film?
What do I want to see in a Bond
First
film?
thing you'd like to see now. We talk about the young ones. Let's talk about the old ones for a second. First thing you'd like to see.
First thing I'd like to see in a Bond film, and I think it would be the same for bringing new people in as well, is a good story, good action, and I think that there needs to be something very good very quickly in it, because with the generation now, everything's mobile phones, trying to get somebody to sit down and watch a film unless they're in a cinema.
Yeah.
The attention spans are so short, so it needs to be bang, 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 from one thing to the next, keep moving forward. And for me, a good story, good action.
Cool. Sean?
You sounded very much like Timothy Dalton there, Andy. We were going bang, bang, bang.
Bang, 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 actually. Slowly.
No, I don't want it to be a made-for-TV movie like his were, so that's...
Oh, God.
Oh.
It's harsh.
All right,
Harsh.
next week we'll have this out proper. John, first thing you want to see in
Michael, edit.
No, we're going for this. No holds barred.
No, what I would like to see, and I'm not being funny or smart here, but I want to see the gun bar front and center.
Oh, yeah.
Remind people of what that is and get the excitement going. And then I want to see an all-out action pre-title sequence, remind people of what Bond is and what he's about in terms of the action. And then, honestly, just get a movie that's engaging, and I want to see a Bond that's going to have the odd quip, bit of humor, but get people engaged in it. The story, and as Paul said earlier on, we have Stephen Knight writing this, so I'm not in any way worried of what we're going to get. I just want a good, engaging movie that gets the ball running again, gets people excited about Bond, and then we continue the films. I don't want to see another 5-6 year wait where we lose a lot of people again. We get a bit of momentum, and what you're saying, Kev, is right. We have a game coming out, we have the next novel coming out, and Charlie Higson's book is going to be set in the real time. It's not a history piece. So keep the momentum going, get the film out, and keep going.
But when you say about momentum, I think once Amazon do start with it, I think the momentum will keep going, because you look at the TV series that they do them every year until they cancel them. But they do keep, there's a constant production line, which is what I think we'll get, as long as quality doesn't drop.
Yeah. All been well. It's all good. I hope so.
Energy, momentum, action. What more could you ask for?
This is it. That's James Bond.
I'm not saying anything else, because I think the universe manifested a computer crash after I selected off.
You sucked out too much energy around the universe that nothing else could have. It was an EMP, local.
So
EMP.
maybe if you
locally
remove
EMP,
those
that's
crystals now, Paul, it might be a bit different.
I'm just going to stay quiet for now. Right. Before we wrap it up, does anyone have any final thoughts on that?
We were just saying that about what we like, what we hope the first few minutes of the next Bond is going to be. So, Paul, you can finish it up. What do you hope the first few minutes of the next Bond is going to be like?
What do I hope? I would love it to be Majesty Secret Service, like the slow reveal of Bond, in an amazing location, wandering into some intrigue with a kind of, he looks good, the people around him look good, there's a vicious fight, he comes away in the end. I would love something like that in a modern context.
Okay, well, you've been outvoted. We're all going for energy and drama and dynamic and action, so enjoy.
You guys are just reading a list that Claude gave you. No, I have no idea.
How did you know?
I think it would
Never
be
mind.
great. I think it's going to be great no matter what. I mean, we know the filmmakers are involved. We know they're going to deliver something incredible, really, really good. It's all going to be down to, because we're priced in. We love James Bond. It's all going to be down to whether we like the actor who plays James Bond, and because the director will essentially select. Well, he won't select the actor, but it'll be that pairing that really drives the style of Bond we see, and it's all up. Yeah. It's all down to our personal taste as to whether we like that, whether we go with it or not. They haven't really put a foot wrong, and if they did, it's only been kind of occasional. They've wobbled in and wobbled out, unless you really hate a particular Bond actor. So I think
no one's like that. No,
imagine doing that.
That would be unbelievable. So yeah, assuming they pick someone who is kind of I personally would like people. I personally would be okay if they go down the route that they took with, Craig or Dalton, to just pick someone who they feel is right for the role, even if he's not the sort of,
Right.
people put a lot of weight on he looks the part. I remember the time Clive Owen was a big thing. I was like,
I
okay,
think
he
we're
may
going
be
down
right.
a whole different podcast rabbit hole here.
Yeah, well, yeah, but the point is really like, it's got to be, you have to be invested in the actor, right? Because I'm not sure which of them said before, this is not just about a character. This is about a whole kind of phenomenon, and it's about, inhabiting that phenomenon and the actor's personality, really. James Bond is. So we have to have someone with a really powerful personality. You can't just put someone who looks good in a suit up on the screen. It's not good enough. And so I'm okay with risk taking as long as it's someone who can deliver that edginess on screen. I think that's going to be cool. Have we rambled on enough about this subject?
Oh, I think we're good.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up.
Now, we're going to talk to you all soon, but we do have an announcement. If you haven't already seen it on our reels, please put it in your diaries. Saturday, October 31st, London, between 5 and 6 p.m. There is a James Bond Club Ireland event on in Waxy O'Connor's. Get there, have a few beers, talk to Bond fans. It's going to be great. We hope to see you there. We'll be all there, won't we?
We will.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be an amazing
I think
weekend.
we will.
Yes.
All right. Keep following their socials for details, and we'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good luck.